I'm very risk adverse. That's why I'm in Bitcoin and just hold, because I know that holding in the long term is superior. Whatever I do in the short term, it's a risk and I don't want to take it. Because I think in this decade, also from now until 2035, globally, it's the main topic. The only really use case as of now is a store of value. All the other cases will be good, but will not be changing their life so much. Also from Europe, you can invest in MicroStrategy. You don't need 5 Germans, 5 from Spain, 5 from France, or 10 from UK Treasury companies. Buy and hold and do nothing is very simple, but it's super hard. People, they need to do something. But at least before it was in altcoins or was trading Bitcoin, now is with Bitcoin treasury company and nutrition, longevity. It's really true that you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And I think before it was more related on monetary system. Yeah, we have a fair monetary system and people can save. Congrats to those who are pumping this coin, because it's 16 years, it's still pumping. So it will be the most intelligent bubble in the history of human being. But it's not a bubble.
Hi, Alessandro. How are you doing? Everything fine on your end?
Yes, all good. Thanks, Robin. How are you doing?
Really good in this Bitcoin winter that we are currently in. It's still doing good. We have heating in the inside, so it's not that bad to have the cold prices.
Yes, for us that we were there in 2022, I think this is a kind of a dip of for ends. So
Actually, 2022, it was like from almost 70K to like 16K, something like that.
Yes. Yeah, yes. And also, I thought probably you also joined in this time, right? If I remember correctly. So at that time, I was also in losses, and it was my first big cycle where I hold. So this cycle is holding when the average buying price is way lower. And with more knowledge about Bitcoin. So yeah, it's frustrating, but yes, we just hold.
And you're big on the Bitcoin as a store of value, I think. Like you also, I think the podcast that you made once was also like something like store of value called, right?
Yeah, store of Bitcoin is Bitcoin a store of value. Still having 1 episode per week. We are not as productive as you, but it's great to get connected with great minds in Bitcoin world. And yes, because as you know, we discuss the focus for my side is Bitcoin as a store of value.
Why do you focus on like Bitcoin as the store of value?
Because I think in this decade, also from now until 2035, globally, it's the main topic. All the other topics are very limited. So many people joining Bitcoin for different reasons, for freedom, cyberpunk, medium of exchange. But for people who are not truly interested in Bitcoin, if they live in the West world, I believe the real use case, and maybe for me, the only really use case as of now is a store of value. All the other cases will be good, but will not be changing their life so much. If someone is spending Bitcoin, if he's interested in Bitcoin, he should spend Bitcoin as much as he wants. But if he's not interested in Bitcoin, spending in Bitcoin or not, it will not change his life. Saving in Bitcoin 4, 6, 8, 10 years from now, it will change his life.
Yeah, like this is something that I'm also looking at. Like the store of value phase is also, I think, Bitcoin's main value, and then we have to define what value is, but like the main appreciation that Bitcoin has is because people can store their money in it. If it's just a media, that's why I also think it's ridiculous the whole thing that we have to make it as a media of exchange. I use it as a media of exchange. Like I get paid in Bitcoin, yes. I pay in Bitcoin. I drive that adoption as hard as possible. But even if that's not coming, I think Bitcoin is still great. I think Seyr made it, said it once really good. The Bitcoin problem, the fiat problem that Bitcoin is solving for store of value is like a $400 to $500 trillion problem that Bitcoin is solving. The media of exchange side of things is also big, but it's not as big. If Bitcoin would just be a payment network, it's not that big.
Exactly. Also, two things to add. So that said, as you said, you are living in Bitcoin. Everyone who is interested in paying in Bitcoin should pay as much as possible in Bitcoin. But we should have also managing expectation. We cannot expect that someone who is not interested in Bitcoin will be interested in paying in Bitcoin. First reason, Bitcoin is solving a problem. So everything that has value is because solving a problem. The problem store of value, we don't have good other asset. We have others, but Bitcoin is superior as invested. Now, what I always say among Bitcoiners, as a medium of exchange in the Western world, do we have a problem? We don't. Even if the banks are open from 8 to 5 with Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and Apple Pay, we know no one has had so far a problem medium of exchange. Different will be in some years from now when Bitcoin will be globally accepted at store of value. Then people will start to ask the merchants to have also the ability to pay in Bitcoin. And also, secondly, we had in our podcast we had a discussion with Vijay Boyapati, and he was also make very intelligent reflection. He say in many cases Bitcoin is said that is used a medium of exchange like in El Salvador, but in reality is payment rails. So it means that the merchants they accept Bitcoin, and soon after they convert or in dollars or in the current local currency. So this is not really medium of exchange. Medium of exchange is if you pay in Bitcoin, you receive Bitcoin, you keep the Bitcoin. Some merchants do, but some other merchants are not doing this. I think we are too early. Next decade, I think Corey Klippstein put 2035. Maybe will not be that year, but roughly I think will be that time where finally whole Bitcoiners will now move to focus on medium of exchange.
2035 is like right around the corner. That's 10 years. 10 years, it sounds long, but like 10 years is not that huge of a step. If you think about like when was 2015, it doesn't feel like that long ago. Yes, and like 2035 is not that. So like, I'm really curious, like because do you have a price point or like a market capitalization point where you say, this is the point where people moving more and more to use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, or is there some other point that we hit that then we start using it as a medium of exchange?
I think firstly we should look at when everyone will have Bitcoin as a store of value, maybe. But store of value also, when we talk about everyone Bitcoin deserves Bitcoin at the price they deserve, it's not the moment when they acquire Bitcoin. It's at the moment where their portfolio is significantly exposed on Bitcoin. So let's say 20, 30%. And this for me will happen maybe. Firstly, I hope that 100K will wake up many more retails, but they didn't. I will put between 1 million and flipping in gold. I think a flipping in gold, the last Bitcoin skeptics will bend the knee finally. We'll have to admit that they were wrong because Bitcoin will have proved them wrong again and again and again. And at one point it will be clear. And the ones who remain still skeptics after Bitcoin flipping in gold should be treated as, pardon the terms, retarded, like flat earthers. So because there will be no any more excuse. Gold is 5,000 years. It was always the most valuable asset. When Bitcoin flips gold, then Bitcoin is the most valuable asset. There will be no more discussion. And from that, for sure, everyone will have a portion on Bitcoin. So between 1 million and flipping in gold.
I'm still astonished by how many people have looked at Bitcoin the past couple of years, or maybe even like the past decade, and they have seen it at $10, at $100, at $1,000, at $10,000, at $100,000. And every time they think you're all wrong and I'm right. And just Bitcoin keeps going. Like, I'm astonished by how many people there still are that looked at Bitcoin, were proven wrong time and time and time and again. And they still say, no, it's a bubble, it's a scam, it's bad. Like, I just got the comment yesterday, and I don't get that many of those anymore. But someone saying like, oh yeah, like, how do all those people still don't get that Bitcoin is a scam? And I'm like, ask yourself the question multiple times, and at some point you will be a Bitcoiner. Because if you ask yourself the question of like, why do all those people actually buy Bitcoin and not you see it as a scam? At some point you will find the answer that you're looking for.
There was exactly on this case. I listened to a podcast. I don't remember who was, but he was a professor who was against Bitcoin and started to study in order to prove that Bitcoin was a scam, and how it ended up. It became a Bitcoin. But there is no one who is against Bitcoin who studied that. I say always 250 hours to study. On your point, I'm also astonished. But on the other side, $10, $100, 1,000. I think till 2017, it was mostly a niche. And also for me, I started to learn in 2017. Everyone who heard about Bitcoin before, the risk was much higher, and there was not so much, not so many books, not podcasts. Bitcoin standard was not there yet. So it was really hard to understand. So I think when it was seriously started to be interested, people was from 2027. That it was around 10,000, 15,000, where the majority, let's say, at least heard about Bitcoin. And yes, I think 10x is not enough because Bitcoin is too complex. And I think in the history of human being, there has never been a topic where people who have spent hundreds of hours or thousands of hours on something has such a different opinion from people who didn't spend any hours or 5 hours on Bitcoin. I always say, if you are, in case you don't want to invest in Bitcoin, be a Bitcoin neutral, meaning you know that you don't know, like Socrates 2,500 years ago. He was judged the wisest because he knew that he didn't know. Because if you are in this case, then once Bitcoin is interesting for you, you will start to study. The biggest mistake is having an opinion on Bitcoin before having understood Bitcoin. And I say, before you study 250 hours, let's say now 200 because it's easier. It's less hard, not easier. Still hard, still very hard. 200 hours, considering your opinion uneducated on Bitcoin. But people don't follow is their mistake.
And I want to add one more thing here. There are people that started Bitcoin quite good, but they're incentivized to speak bad about it. I mean, prime example is always Peter Schiff. I think he understands it better than he might admit to, but he's incentivized to speak bad about it because he saw that when he speaks bad about Bitcoin, he gets a lot of clicks and a lot of views. And this actually converts him to sell more gold to people. and this is actually a business model for him. That's like, hey, I speak really bad about Bitcoin and I make more money and then I can still stack some Bitcoin. I'm 100% sure that he's either a complete lunatic or he actually stacks Bitcoin and just uses it as a business model.
I think he's one of the exceptions also because he was against Bitcoin when it was a 130 or let's say $300. So he made instead of 1,300% or more, 3,000% he made Bitcoin, and he's still against. So yeah, he will be an exception of the rule. For many others, and also he became kind of the most liked Bitcoin skeptic around. Like when also there is Natalie Brulin interviewed him, so he's now kind of an icon of the Bitcoin skeptic. Many others, I still believe that they think that it's a scam or it's a bubble, because once you have a strong opinion about Bitcoin, or especially if you come from the financial world, to admit that you were wrong now, it means that you have to admit that Bitcoiners were right in the last 6, 8, 10 years since when they started. So especially for men, we have big ego. Once we form a strong opinion, especially if it's coming in our field, I'm referring people, not me, but people coming from the financial world, to say I'm wrong, it's hard. Also because I always say there is not kind of a treaty or a meeting on the middle, peace. Bitcoiners were right. Bitcoin skeptics were 100% wrong. So that's hard. What is needed? Higher price. 200K, 500K, 1 million, 2 million. At one point, they will have to admit it.
That's super interesting. What do you actually say to the recent JP Morgan thing? I don't know if you've seen it in the news where JP Morgan is deep ranking Jack Mallers. They're going against somewhat against strategy. Have you seen the news?
Yeah, I heard Jack Mallers also posted made a frame of these letters. I'm also debated because on one side now JP Morgan will be offering more and more Bitcoin services. On the other, I think it's the traditional world will still fighting Bitcoin adoption till one point when it will be clear that you won't fight Bitcoin anymore, and then they will have to adopt it. It's like gunpowder safety said. You can be against, but at one point, if you're not in, then you lose. So it's they are trying to strike back, but there is no chance.
I love that because it's like you really get to the point where you either adopt it like fully or you get washed out. And this is always like the thing that I'm coming back to, where we try really hard to orange pill people. We try really hard to like get the message across all the boards. And then you realize they all have to come anyways. And so the only thing I can do is make sure everyone knows like, hey, I'm a Bitcoiner. And then they know like, oh yeah, like he told me like 5 years ago and now it's like at $10 million. Like, oh shit, I could have bought it at $7,000.
Yes. Or at 30. Yes. Same. Exactly. Also, Stefan Livera said we don't have to proactively talk to people. People should know that once they're interested in Bitcoin, they can come to us. And if they didn't come to us so far, it means that they don't deserve Bitcoin at 70K. For me, also, it's kind of humility. You have also to make an act of humility. I started to learn 2017. I didn't, obviously, the first cycle, generally people are in other altcoins or shitcoins, and then they sell Bitcoin. This is what I did. I was in Luna. I was in Polkadot in 2021. I sold also in 2018, and then I went in the rabbit hole in 2021-22, and then I started to understand Bitcoin. And this, I also admit, I didn't deserve Bitcoin at 3,000 or 5,000, but I deserve Bitcoin at 25, 30, 35,000. These people who are still against are not this. Unfortunately for them, they don't deserve Bitcoin at 80K.
Which is a freaking amazing price if you think about it, because like the risk factors are, or like not risk factors, but the open questions to Bitcoin. Because if you think about Bitcoin in 2010, there were a lot of open questions to how Bitcoin will actually populate. And now I feel like all questions are answered. We just come up with new ways to answer the same questions we've answered in 2013.
True. Also, but I think this is also with the right. It was also much risky. Now, for many people, it's important the financialization of the asset. The institutions also accept Bitcoin. Before the ETFs, before so many companies buying Bitcoin, before what we saw in the last 2 years, many people would not have never joined. Now, some they join. For some, they will wait. They will have to wait a bit more. I'm also surprised that from the narrative, on one side, I'm pleasantly not surprised, but expected that the narrative shifted. So many less people are saying Bitcoin is a bubble, has no value. There are still some, but many cases they say, oh, it's too much volatile. And this is another topic. It's much softer topic than it's used only by criminals, or it does not have any intrinsic value. There were cases where people from the institution will say it doesn't fit our strategy or it's too volatile. So on one side, the narrative softened. On the other side, I'm still surprised that people are talking about the bubble. First of all, any bubble in the history of the world, it happened with one hype, one crash, and that's all. Bitcoin is 16 years. That is in case it's a bubble, it's 16 years bubble. It never happened in the history. Every time it's coming back from the dust even stronger. So it's not a bubble. And even if it is a bubble, really, I would say by joke, congrats to those who are pumping this coin, because it's 16 years, it's still pumping. So it will be the most intelligent bubble in the history of human being. But it's not a bubble.
I love that. So like, it's not a bubble, but if it would be a bubble, it would be by far the most successful bubble ever. So congratulations to the people that pump it. So I guess congratulations to ourselves.
Was, yes.
What actually, like people that have been longer into Bitcoin, already know, like they have gone through those bear cycles, they have gone through those crashes. But I see a lot of people that are now new to the game that maybe bought Bitcoin within the last 12 months, 24 months, 1-2 years. What keeps you bullish in those times? What is kind of like where you draw the excitement for Bitcoin when the price is just not doing anything or maybe even going down a little bit?
Yeah, first of all, for me, I know that it's totally normal that the price is Bitcoin can crash. So in the short, middle term, Bitcoin can do whatever it wants. And everyone who asks me about Bitcoin, firstly, I say to study Bitcoin. And secondly, I say invest in the percentage of the portfolio where you are intellectually capable to hold Bitcoin for 4 years. That it sounds simple, but it's not easy. And in fact, we see now a record short-term holders who sold in the short-term holders are the holders who hold Bitcoin since less than 155 days, so 5 months. They are all in red because Bitcoin crashed in price that we saw before in May. And they didn't buy Bitcoin with the necessary conviction. So whatever it is, 0.2%, 1%, 5%, 20%, any percentage of portfolio should be linked to the fact that you hold Bitcoin for at least 4 years. Complaining about Bitcoin that is going down is like buying a dog for me and complaining that he's barking. Barking belongs to the dog. Bitcoin going down belongs in the short term, belongs to Bitcoin. For me, I know I was already, I was into Bitcoin already during the crash from 2021, 70K to 15.5K. And this is a dip for ants. I know that it's part of Bitcoin. And now I strongly believe that the 4-year cycle, if it is not that, it will be completely changed. And now I start to believe that this price went down because Bitcoin has to humble one last cohort, the 4-year cycle investors, because everyone who sold Bitcoin in 2018 and bought again made money, sold in 2021, bought in 2022, made money, because 2018 and 22 were bad. Many people were believing this, and that's why they sold. And people who bought in the last 6 months, they panic sold because they cannot hold minus 10%. But the condition, we are both deeply in Bitcoin. The condition from between 2021 and now are completely different. From the ETF, institutionalization, plus we have quantitative tightening is ending. In 2021-22, the interest rate were going up. Now they're going down. So the macroeconomic situation, it's completely different. And US will keep printing money and lower interest rate, not because they want to, but because they need to in order to keep the broken monetary system running. So I think in 2026, we will see good year. I am negatively surprised of what happened in 2025. We were all thinking we go to the moon. But if this sideways is the price that we have to pay, that the 4-year cycle is dead, I'm very happy to pay this price, to be bored this year and to wait for a good 2026.
I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today and you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Again, that's microseed.io to get your last backup tool you ever need. The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use simplemining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together.
Yeah, and it's always. I want to show you something. I've almost forgot to bring it up. We have here. It's almost like for me history, because this channel actually will change a lot in 2026, and so for me. It's almost an end of an era, and that's why it was important also for me to one more time record with you in this format. I will record in other formats definitely again with you. When you go to my channel, which most people will be right now on this channel watching that, or maybe you listen on Spotify, and you go to my YouTube channel and you look at the oldest videos, but you can do the same thing on Spotify or any other app that you are listening in, and you see my first 8 videos. They were like solo episodes, just me talking about Bitcoin news, tweets, and all of those things. But then I got rid of that and sick of that. I was like, I want to do an actual podcast and I want to interview the best people in the space. And Alessandro is now the third time on my show, and he was the first guest for me. So this is really cool for me, because we are now at episode. You're my 686th guest. And so almost 700 episodes are between the first and now the 700th. And I just wanted to show this to you, with the question to you. What is the major learning that you had through that, now? And it's also for the people that don't know, almost to the dot 2 years ago. And so, this video came out, I think in, 28th of November, 2023. And today, as we're recording this, it's 26th of November. So this will come out. I think this video will come out on the 2nd of December. So it's almost to the dot 2 years, later, actually as a premiere, it actually came out. Interesting. And this was really interesting for me. We mentioned Satoshi Nakamoto. And my question was what have you learned since the last 2 years on Bitcoin, and what kind of maybe you changed your mind on Bitcoin, or what you made within Bitcoin? Oh, see, there you have a younger Robin and younger Alessandro.
We're still young, but they were young. We were younger.
And the question is what have you learned in the last 2 years since we recorded this podcast 2 years ago? What were kind of your learnings within Bitcoin? Did you got any new thoughts from Bitcoin within those 2 years, even though you already understood Bitcoin beforehand?
Yeah. So two main point. So first, we don't have to do so much proactive marketing about Bitcoin, but as we said before, I also during this time Bitcoin was low, so I was still trying to convince some people, but unless they are ready, there is no chance. And these 2 years convinced me. Now I'm, let's say, pushing or proactively speak about Bitcoin way less. The important that the people I know contact, I know around, they know about Bitcoin. Secondly, is the magnitude of thinking about the magnitude of the impact about Bitcoin. I see also in my life, I'm thinking way more long term. So, for example, also for sport and nutrition, longevity, it's really true that you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And I think before it was more related on monetary system. Yeah, we have a fair monetary system and people can save. But and now I'm more and more understood also the philosophical implication and the long-term implication that of what having good money means. It doesn't mean that only we have money that can save for our future, but we can really change the minds. And this is something I read already in the Bitcoin standard from a safety, but once you read once or twice, it resonates you after months or years, and after really you live it, because okay, you can understand it looks good, but really truly understand it, you need, I think, to live with it for months or years.
Yeah, it's like you really learn from using it and actually like thinking about it very hard for a long period of time. And the main difficulty I always see with people, it's you've learned so much BS in the fiat system. You have to go through so many things that you have to unlearn from fiat to actually understand what like Bitcoin is. And sometimes it's hard to do it within like a few months of like, oh, I get Bitcoin now. And then you're like, oh, but what if? Like, what if? And then like you need those like confirmations, you need this like going deeper and all of those things long term to make it. So that's a great point actually.
Thanks. Yep, I think that's also it changed. So changing my life. That's what it changed our lives, I think, for many Bitcoiners.
100%. How do you actually think about treasury companies as they really are going hard on the store of Bitcoin, store of value phase, where they really try to capture the Bitcoin sentiment and then like kind of explore the fiat black hole or however you want to frame it?
Yeah. Yes. I am mixed. So mixed feelings. On one side, I think we need some Bitcoin treasury companies. For example, Strategy also lead the way, and Michael Seyr was the biggest proponent in the last 3 or 4 years. Thanks to him, many people have been more interested on Bitcoin, and he can talk to people that we cannot talk, or many Bitcoiners like retails don't have access to. But I think on one side, we are having so many treasury companies that we don't need. We don't need 100, 200 treasury companies. Maybe we need one per continent, or maximum 1 or 2 per countries. Because also from Europe, you can invest in MicroStrategy. You don't need 5 Germans, 5 from Spain, 5 from France, or 10 from UK treasury companies. If once the 2, 3, 5, or let's say 10 world globally who offer the best products, then they will be the one who remains. And now we are seeing also, and also it could be kind of a distraction for the Bitcoin Bitcoin ecosystem, because buy and hold and do nothing is very simple, but it's super hard. People, they need to do something. But at least before it was in altcoins or was trading Bitcoin, now is with Bitcoin treasury companies. But now they are also having the bad surprise. Those who invested early, they made money, but anyone who invested in Bitcoin treasury companies, at least a portion of the portfolio in Bitcoin this year, it's much more red than with Bitcoin. So my recommendation is the big majority should be in Bitcoin. Then if you need some bubble, something, because maybe buying Bitcoin and hold when Bitcoin is sideways for 12 months can be boring, then use the casino money for Bitcoin treasury companies, or anyhow a small percentage of the portfolio, because maximum they will remain, I think 10, 12 Bitcoin treasury companies. I would like to see many like less focus on Bitcoin treasury companies. That it's okay to have some, but not there is so much interest, and many more companies, normal companies who have a healthy and profitable operating business, and they are buying Bitcoin every quarter to put in the balance sheet.
I think the point of view that you made with not doing anything is really interesting. I just had recorded a podcast with Knut Svanholm, and he told this story how he set up Bitcoin for himself and his mother. And he said, like, guess who has more Bitcoin now? Him and his mother. And he's like, his mother, because she never did anything with the Bitcoin. he set it up for her, and she just completely forgot about it, never touched it, never did anything. And he's like, that's the only big strategy that works with Bitcoin, just buying it, keeping it, and like never even looking at it, almost forgetting about it, just so that you still have control over the keys. And this is the best strategy, like keep it somewhere where you don't have access to it, because once you have access to it, you're like, oh, altcoins, oh, treasury companies, oh, I can do lending and staking and this and that.
Or trading Bitcoin to end up with more Bitcoin, and very likely you end up with less Bitcoin.
If you're trading and you hope that you get more Bitcoin, I can almost guarantee that you will have less Bitcoin.
Yes. I think if people want to do, it's fine. But then if they lose money, it's not because of Bitcoin. It's because Bitcoin is risky in the short term. It's super risky. And also, I don't know what it's doing the next 6 months. No one was expecting 80K 12 months after we hit 100K. And no one was expecting from 40K to 90K, or at least not many, such last year. So yeah, it's okay if you know that there is a risk. But then if you lose money, it's because you wanted to take the risk, and you lost. If you want to have much less risk, then I'm saying always, I'm very risk adverse. That's why I'm in Bitcoin and just hold, because I know that holding in the long term is superior. Whatever I do in the short term, it's a risk, and I don't want to take it.
There is, for me, because I've got asked that question already, like, is there something more valuable than Bitcoin? And yes, there is. It's basically time. And when you look at that, you come to like, what is a better investment than Bitcoin? There's a personal level, and then there's a business level. On the personal level, you only have health and family and friends. So if you can get better health by giving up some Bitcoin, that's a trade I always do. Like, if you seriously like, before eating cheap, processed, weird food, eat quality, good food, because in the end, it will be better for you. Then it's family, friends is like an obvious one. And then on the business side of it, the only investment that is better than Bitcoin on the business side is in your own knowledge, in your own skills. And if you can build a profitable, good product or service that actually provides value for society, it might be worth it. But it has to be something really good, because like most startups fail, most things fail, most things don't have value, even though you think it has value. So if you have something that actually has value, and then that business is profitable, has a great product, and you can put those profits into Bitcoin, like, that's freaking awesome. This is how I view of, like, this is the only things that are better investments than Bitcoin. Anything else, yeah, if you have like 5% and you want to try strategy out or something else, like, go ahead, knock yourself out. But like, the majority of your money should be in Bitcoin. That's your savings technology. And don't confuse savings and investment. Bitcoin is savings. MicroStrategy is investment.
Yes, it's much more risky, let's say. Yes. I totally agree. And also, I also agree with, I saw some of your posts, especially with the meme or the image where the guy was buying Bitcoin, then he become old. He dies with many Bitcoin, and the life he had like a poor life. This is also something that we should kind of discuss or fight in the Bitcoin world, because many they're saying you just hold Bitcoin forever. No, we don't hold Bitcoin forever. I mean, some portion it will be maybe for our children or grandchildren, but another portion will be to uplift our lifestyles in terms of better time or better quality of life. Many, they come maybe to buy a Lambo, but if they really learn Bitcoin, then what they will want later with Bitcoin, if Bitcoin really appreciate, it will be more time, as you said, better quality food, better experience, maybe traveling in places where they learn about other things, other culture, and thanks to the Bitcoin price appreciation. So at one point, there will be a price where at least the people who join in my cycle, 2020, 21, 22, will start to sell. Now it's too early, but I would say when it is 500K, 800K, 1 million, if we bought at 30, 35, 40K to sell a portion to upgrade the life, I think makes sense. Also because if you keep working super hard to maybe save, let's say, 2,000 euro in a month, and Bitcoin is 1 million, you had already a good portion of Bitcoin. You work a lot for 0.002 Bitcoin. You start to think in other ways. Maybe I sell a portion, I free up my time, I have better experience, better quality of life. Definitely. In fact, also the selling that is now, those who sold it, who bought in less than 4 years ago, they are all weekends. They should not have bought Bitcoin, or they should have bought Bitcoin with better conviction. If they sold, it was a complete mistake. If they sold in losses. If they sold in profit, they will miss it out Bitcoin, but at least they had some profit. But those we saw whales, or also for me, the cycle of those who were so intelligent, more intelligent than me, who understood Bitcoin 2017-18, and they stacked at 2K, 3K, 5K, 4K. Once Bitcoin is 120K, it's 30x. If someone put really the savings and he had a qualified job where he can save every month, and he did for years, I think it makes sense that they sold something to upgrade their life. Totally.
100%. I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. In I post so many memes, it's like hard to find any back, because I think I actually love that meme a lot. It's basically a guy running behind a bunch of Bitcoin, and then in the end he gets all the Bitcoin, but there's like the death and he falls off the cliff basically. And it really makes sense, because you want to use Bitcoin as money. And so you always use it as such as like, okay, I can just stack more Bitcoin, but I can also invest in better health. I can invest like in a great family holiday, or like spend more time, or retiring my partner, or something like that. Yeah, buying a house is more controversial, but I would agree. Like if it's something important for you, like do it. But
yeah, yes, it's a controversial, but depends. If you really stacked at 3K and you have maybe more than 20 or 50 Bitcoin, then maybe buying a house makes sense when Bitcoin is 100K. For sure, if you come from the cycles of 2020-22, the price is not high enough to say it's more important. Always, as we learn from Austrian School of Economics, all about priorities. And at one point, buying the house or do more bigger investment will become more important than the portion of Bitcoin that you have to sell. Not at this time. But imagine someone who bought Bitcoin at $100. He bought 50 Bitcoin or 100 Bitcoin. Should not sell 10 Bitcoin now to buy a house. Maybe some they say no, but some would say could make sense.
I found it.
Nice.
I found it. Wow. I'm surprised how well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Very nice.
And so I made, I commented here, and it got a lot of, like, it got almost 200,000 views, which is amazing. Oh, and you're also the first comment. That's fun.
Yes.
And this is, I basically comment, make sure you use your Bitcoin to get more life, not giving more life to Bitcoin. I mean, it's weird coming from me because I gave all my life to Bitcoin. So it's almost hypocritical for me to say that. But, and I also said, like, coming from a man who's working full time in Bitcoin, you run your whole life to get more Bitcoin, which there is a stacking phase and all of that. But at some point you have to use your Bitcoin. Otherwise you die rich and you live poor, which you don't want. And yeah, you tweeted, here, totally agree. And maybe we should stop with narratives like, we will never sell Bitcoin and you will never have Bitcoin. And so, like, there is a fine line between, like, you want more Bitcoin, but you also feel okay with the Bitcoin that you have. Like, you like, okay, I have enough Bitcoin, and there's, like, still this striving for even more. So there's, like, a balance that you can kind of strike there.
Yeah, yes. And it's not also black and white that one day you want to stack as much as possible, the next day you don't want to stack. Also, I see also by myself, stacking at 20K, with 2K, you can buy 0.1 Bitcoin. When Bitcoin was 120K, they say in 2K, you can stack less. So you stack also less aggressively. Actually, it's the whole point of money is what you can buy with those money. So if just buying and hold for the rest of the life, for me, there is no point. Sure, a portion should be gone to the next generation, children and grandchildren, but also we are not 60 or 70. So we are entitled also to enjoy this one.
You should enjoy it, man. It's your money and you can do whatever you want with it. And I'm like, I'm really strong in this because also with the question of, like, should you buy a house or not? And I'm like, it depends on you. Like, if you, for example, see yourself living in that one city for the rest of your life, it probably makes sense to buy. It probably makes sense to, like, put down your roots and, like, be there. But maybe you are more like, hey, I don't know where I'm ending up in 5 years, and so, like, a different lifestyle. But then also you have to ask yourself about and you can even buy a house and still have a great Bitcoin strategy.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You can, like, have the mortgage and all of that. Like, you can play with the finance tricks. Also, I don't recommend that, but, like, you can do that. And so it becomes a question of, like, what life do you want to have? And Bitcoin enables you to think about that question. Without Bitcoin, you couldn't even think about that question.
Totally. And I think also so in order to have life-changing profits and people see really Bitcoiners changing their life, we need at least 2 cycles from when you understood Bitcoin. So it means now there are only life-changing profits, or life-changing profit are for people who were there 2 cycles ago and understood Bitcoin. And how many they were? Maybe 10,000 people, 20,000. I don't think many more. They were mostly software engineers, cyberpunk, and some really great minds. For them, Bitcoin now already changed the life. I think the real big wave, 80-90% of people who understood Bitcoin are coming from the cycle 2020-22. So where the average price is between 20 and 60K. So 90K is not life-changing. 150K will not be life-changing. 200K as well. But maybe 600 or 800K, it will start to be life-changing profit. And I think one of the reasons why many no-coiners are not buying so much Bitcoin, because they see us and we didn't upgrade the life yet because we are still stacking. So for them, there is not an example. If Bitcoin reach 800K and we change the life and we can afford things that they can never afford, and maybe then they will start to listen more. It will be easier, but unfortunately for them, they missed their bull run from 30K to 600K or 800K.
Absolutely, like 100%. What do you actually expect from Bitcoin the next couple of years or the next decade? Like not only from price, like price is always the thing that people are most interested in, and like like it goes up. It's like will be great. But like maybe even like outside of price, what do you kind of like expect that Bitcoin kind of like goes through in the next like decade towards like then going to the medium exchange side of things?
I think there will be more and more adoption, but it will take time to change anything else than price appreciation and savings. At the beginning, people will start to adopt Bitcoin as a savings, and then they will also change the people who buy, at least some of the people who buy Bitcoin. But this will take, I think, 5 years since when you start to study Bitcoin, at least. So what I would expect is also the people who are early in Bitcoin will do other choices. Many, as I said before, maybe they join for the big profit or to have a Lambo, and they will say, they're also the meme, they say, once you know Bitcoin, you will not want a Lambo anymore. Okay, maybe if Bitcoin goes to 10 million, I will also buy a Lambo. But it's not the first thing. It will be at least after many more meaningful things. So on part of the price, I expect adoption, so it will be much more recognized. At one point, it will be clear that it should be part of any balanced traditional portfolio. I was expecting more from the wake up call from Bitcoin at 100K, but it was not enough. So maybe we need 200K or 300K. But at one point in the next 5 years, I think it will be clear that everyone needs to have 1, 2, 3, or 5% in Bitcoin. And once it's clear, then Bitcoin will do what is engineered to do. Being the best money, it will go up forever with much less volatility and much less drawdowns, because people will sell only to upgrade the life, not because of panic selling or because one person said something.
100%. I love that those insights. Really cool. We have one question that I asked actually every single one of my returning guests, and as we learned, you're already the third time on.
Yes.
And the question is, what have you learned outside of Bitcoin since your last appearance on the podcast?
Bitcoin. Yeah, I think I learned much more on longevity topics. I also start to read books on what to do to keep you strong. And the most impressive fact that I learned is focus on longevity. Don't only improve your lifespan, but improve your health span even more. Meaning, this is what we should focus, because the average life expectancy will be, let's say 85, but generally people in the last decade of their life, they go always in chronic disease with the heart, diabetes, cancer, heart cancer, or Alzheimer, dementia. These are the 4 horsemen, the 4 chronic issues that medicine didn't solve so far. But if you focus on nutrition, going out, exercise, sleeping, you will delay you will do prevention, and you will delay all of them. And most of the people who live many people who live a healthy life, they arrive till 995 also in good condition, and then they start to go down, and in a few months they died. And this, I think, what we should aim for. That not only we have a long lifespan, but even more important that we have a long health span. And for sure, you can be hit by a car tomorrow, and nothing. All what you did is not relevant. But if in most cases, it will be having a big impact what we are doing in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. So upgrading the lifestyle towards longevity was probably my biggest learn. Probably thanks to Bitcoin.
That's really, really interesting. And I like that you mentioned that the health span is like even more important than the lifespan. And I agree, because we are not in full control of our lifespan. we know there is horrible things out in the world. There's great things in the world, and you can lose your life at any given moment for any given reason, and you cannot protect yourself to not die. Like even the president, we've learned, can die even though he's so well protected. And even like the current president was like very, very close to dying, even though he's so well protected. So you cannot prevent dying, but what you can do is aim to be as healthy as possible while you are living. And funny enough, if you aim for living as healthy and great as possible right now, this is also the same method to live as long as possible.
Yes.
In the long run. So I love because if you focus on living as long as possible, you can get scared. And I think being scared is not good for you. Being scared of like, oh, I cannot sit in the car because like 1 out of 100 people that step in the car like die on that day. So I should not drive the car. Oh, okay. But if you are on the sidewalks, also like someone can crash in the car in you, even though you haven't been in a car. So it would have maybe been better to be in the car, not on the sidewalks. So whatever you do, you have a huge risk. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'll lock myself into my room. But then you also die because you die from like social things and like lights and all. Like there's no till now, there's no way out of this life alive. So you will most likely die if we don't make some huge health longevity thing in the medical scene. And so you have to take risks, you have to do things, and in the long run, aim for living healthier and better and not longer, because that's a weird goal to actually have.
Correct. And if you aim to live healthier for long, you will also live longer. And risk zero and nothing is risk zero. There are many studies saying being alone is one of the causes that shortening the life or not having a purpose. So it's also important be connected with communities, have friends, family. Otherwise, being lonely, no risk in and not having any hobby, then it will also shorten your life. So I think probably focus on longevity. And also, if you're maybe in your 20s, it's still early, but at least in your 30s, 40s, people think that we take care once the problem happens. But once it happens, medicine now, they don't have, they can only prolong, and they don't have really solve for example, for dementia, for Alzheimer, or for heart problem. They can prolong or fight, but they cannot solve. So the best way is prevention and living a lifestyle that prevent this.
Really cool. I love that we ended up here with that question. We have one more question. The question from the previous guest. So we have an end routine where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you the question, what is the most important aspect of Bitcoin?
Long time preference the world will be moving from an optimistic world of short time preference and moving to, we talk about now longevity is long time preference, and this will improve the whole civilization. So everything, food, art, economics, business, how people interact with each other, importance of family. So this shift from short-time preference to long-time preference, it will be the biggest catalyst for the advance of our civilization.
That's freaking awesome. I think so too. It's and this is something, if you heard this the first time, most likely you haven't, but if you heard that the first time, it makes no freaking sense. And then you dive deeper into what this actually means for civilization to have a lower time preference or like a longer time horizon. That's changes everything. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much also for coming on. Before I let you go, where can people find you and ask you questions?
Yeah, I'm mostly in X, so Alex Otta BTC. And also we have a YouTube channel, Store of Bitcoin, where we have with Francesco Madonna, Johan Bergman, we do one episode per week. And we are interviewing also a greatest mind on Bitcoin. So you have both X, and we have also Spotify, so you can find Store of Bitcoin. and sort of Bitcoin will be the keys to find us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alessandro, for being on the podcast. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.